progresses. Jaundice, where the skin and eyes look yellow, frequently occurs. People may appear to lose weight quickly, and some may experience pain in the belly or back. If any of these symptoms occur together, consult your physician. It may or may not be pancreatic cancer, but you still need to know what is causing these concerns. This edition of Health in a Heartbeat is brought to you by University of Florida Health, committed to advancing excellence in patient care, research, and education, and by WUFT FM. For more information or to subscribe to our weekly e-newsletter, please visit our website, heartbeatradio.org.
KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly, and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. KSJE is supported by Sandstone Productions Outdoor Summer Theater, featuring the music of Elvis this summer. The Broadway musical All Shook Up will have you putting on your blue suede shoes and shaking your hips like it's now or never. The show performs every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday through July 27th. Enjoy an evening under the beautiful New Mexico stars. Concessions are available on site. Beer and wine from Wines of the San Juan available Fridays and Saturdays. Find out more about this jolt-worthy event at farmingtonnm.org/OST. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock, Thursday morning, June 20th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM, the information and cultural beacon of the Four Corners, broadcasting to you from our visual radio studios here at San Juan College. And a special welcome to our viewers who are watching the program live today on the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. Welcome aboard, everyone. We are glad you are with us. Let's start this morning by taking a look at the weather forecast that's in store for us today. And to do that, we'll take a look at our neighbors to the north, Durango, Colorado, where currently it is 59 degrees under mostly sunny skies in Durango. The high forecast today should get up to about 82 degrees, and tonight's low down to about 47. You can see the Animas River there as we take a look at the camera in Durango from a few moments ago, courtesy of DurangoLiveCam.com. Here at home in Farmington, it is another sunny day as well. It's going to be a bit warmer than Durango. 90 for a high this afternoon here, 53 and clear tonight. Bit breezy tomorrow with a high of 85 on Friday, and then cooler for the weekend. 75 and sunny for a high on Saturday, 72 and sunny on Sunday before temperatures head back up into the lower 80s on Monday. And take a look overnight, maybe a chance of a shower overnight on Saturday with a low of 43. Coming up on the radio this morning, we're going to be talking with San Juan County Public Works Director Nick Porell. He'll be giving us an update on the Lee Acres Bridge construction project and also on some of the other repaving and road projects in San Juan County this summer. So stay tuned for that in the next few moments right here on KSJE. Later on this hour, as we do every Thursday, we'll check in with Jason Calcote from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation and talk about the economy in the world these days. That's coming up this morning at 8:55 on KSJE, so stick around for that as well. Mick Hess will take over the radio station at 9 o'clock, and he's got some arts news to share with us, plus roving with the arts, of course. Today, Mick is playing a Bach Cantata number 76 on the program, so we hope you'll tune in for that as well. Don't forget, of course, you can listen to us at 90.9 FM or in San Juan County that way, or if you're in Durango, where we showed you earlier, we are now on the air at 103.3 FM in Durango. Listen online, of course, at KSJE.com or watch our visual radio programs on the KSJE Facebook page or YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on Twitter, of course, and check out the KSJE page on Instagram as well. Joining me here in our visual radio studio to talk a little bit about construction work in San Juan County, Nick Porell is here. He is the County Public Works Director in Aztec. Mr. Porell, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks for coming in.
For sure.
Lots of work going on. Your crews are busy.
Well, I like to say we're always busy, but indeed summertime is a busier, dirtier season for us.
You have a window of opportunity to get some things done,
we do,
right?
Indeed.
And so here you are to give me a little update and talk to us a little about how things are going. Sure. What's the biggest thing on your list? Is it the bridge?
So the biggest project we have right now, indeed, Scott, is the bridge on County Road 5500 on the San Juan River.
Okay.
That's it's a fairly long-term project. When you're spending $6 million, it does take time. We were fortunate that we received some capital outlay money in the 2018 legislative session. So that, along with that, comes the oversight of New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Right.
So they conduct their reviews. We have to go through their processes as opposed to, if it were local funds, we could bull and jam a little more quickly. But indeed, it's a project that we started, it was about 2 years ago, I guess, shortly after I started working at the county. And right now we're at a 90% design on the bridge, hoping to put it out to let, as they say, for construction quotes in end of this year, 2019.
Okay.
Weather permitting, construction could begin immediately. Odds are it will be a 2020 summer construction project.
Okay. And again, for folks who maybe aren't remembering what we're talking about, this is the bridge in Lee Acres on County Road 5500.
On County Road 5500.
And there was concerns of the weight limit on the old bridge, right?
It is, and there's, still concerns.
So, right? Yeah.
So, the bridge is currently posted at 13 tons. When we posted the bridge at that weight limit, we weren't seeing a whole lot of compliance with commercial vehicles. So the decision was made to reduce the bridge to one lane. To one, throttle traffic to some degree, as kind of a inconvenience deterrent to that commercial traffic. But essentially, by reducing a bridge to one lane, you double its load rating.
Sure. So now it's back up to...
Well, no, I'm still saying it's 13 tons.
Okay. I see. Okay.
But it gives, I'm an engineer. Engineers are risk adverse.
I understand.
And so yes, and indeed, by reducing it to one lane, when we do get those unauthorized, oversized loads, it doesn't pose as large of a risk to the motoring public as it otherwise could.
Right. And what about the higher flows in the river? Has that caused any concerns for you? I mean, obviously they're built to deal with these ups and downs of the river level.
Yeah. So that bridge in particular wasn't built to any real standard. It was constructed in the 60s by I don't want to say a ragtag group of local individuals, but it indeed was. It was built by members of the community, some with construction experience. Seeing a need to get from their farms into town a little bit quicker.
Interesting. As an engineer, that must make you a little nervous.
It's actually pretty neat in that when you get under the bridge itself, you can actually see what they did. How they built the bridge is they dammed half the river with just earth, and they actually poured the concrete on top of the ground, so you can still kind of see the original formwork, if you will, which was earthen.
Okay.
So they built half the bridge, reopened that side, dammed the other side of the river, built the bridge there. So certainly,
and it's lasted all this time.
Some ingenuity,
right?
But it's definitely not a modern bridge by any standards.
And the new one will be, obviously, right?
It'll be a 2-lane bridge with a 4-foot bike path, shoulder kind of deal, and then it'll also have sidewalks on either side of the bridge too. So there will be some pedestrian facilities that don't currently exist.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, it'll be a nice improvement.
Looking forward to it.
What we have, and as you mentioned, your 90% design completed and construction hopefully next year.
Yeah, indeed.
And how long do you think it'll take to
construction,
build that
we're
thing?
actually using a construction technique called accelerated bridge construction, or ABC. So essentially it's going to be largely precast members that will be either formed somewhere here locally or potentially out of town and shipped. And it'll actually kind of go in like Legos. We did present to the County Commission last year 2 alternatives for construction. One would have been a full closure of the bridge during construction, which the Commission elected not to pursue, given concerns from our EMS responders, and that it would be a delayed response with that detour having to go through Bloomfield.
Right.
That would have been a 1-month construction. Right now we're looking at about a 3-month construction period, which is actually pretty swift for
sounds like it to me.
Bridge. Yeah,
sure.
Indeed.
So very good. And I know you brought up a good point, because a lot of folks then who lived out that way were concerned about fire trucks and ambulance services and things getting out there,
Indeed.
and that's why they didn't want you to close the bridge altogether, even
So
during
we'll
some
have
of the
one lane
concerns.
open throughout construction. The construction phasing will be, first phase will be demolition of one half of the bridge, and then reconstruction of half of the new bridge, following which will divert traffic to the one half of the new bridge. It will remain one lane, and then demolition of the other half of the existing bridge and construction of the other half of the new bridge.
Gotcha. And I suppose back in the 60s when this bridge was first built, their population levels were a lot different out on that West Hammond neighborhood than they are today.
I would imagine so. Honestly, I'm 7 years in San Juan County, so
Right.
I can't. And I was
It's even
not
before
even
my
not
time,
even conceived
so-
in 1960.
Even before my time, so I understand. Well, that's an exciting project, and that's probably one that you spend a lot of time on. Another one would be some work over in the Kirtland area. The county has worked
Yeah.
with the new city of Kirtland.
Well, it's not within the town of Kirtland. This is actually within county boundaries. But,
Okay.
it serves Central Consolidated School District through a bicycle pedestrian plan that was developed by the Farmington Metropolitan Planning Organization some years back. There was identified a need for pedestrian facilities in the vicinity of Kirtland Central High School, middle school, as well as what is now Judy Nelson Elementary. As I understand, the Consolidated School District does not bus students that live within a mile of the school. So right now they're walking on, or prior to the construction of this path, they were walking on, the
roads,
the
right?
unpaved shoulder of
Yeah.
the road. We did finish the first phase, actually just yesterday. They did the final striping, so we're working with the closeout with the contractor. But we built the first phase, goes from County Road 6400 along County Road 6100 and around the corner onto 6575, and it terminates more or less at the football field at Kirtland Central High School.
Right.
So it's about a mile long. We were fortunate in a recent round of Transportation Alternatives Program funding to receive funding for a second phase of the project, which will then finish the trail, or not trail, it's a paved path, from the high school football field up to Judy Nelson Elementary. So it'll,
Nice.
be a complete project at that point in time. So,
Right.
like I said, first phase is done. The grant will be executed likely this fall. We'll receive the money to start design, and I would suspect that's probably a 2021 construction project.
Gotcha. And could there be some more grant funds available for future funds? I mean,
There's actually the TAP program, Transportation Alternatives, is on a 2-year funding cycle. Like I said, we just applied for a grant for the 2020-2021 funding cycle, anticipating another grant cycle in 2022, 2023. Depending on annexation, what have you, that may be something the town of Kirtland might want to pursue to expand the trail, because I know there was planning documents that exist that actually extend the trail up across US 64 that tie into what is now the Kirtland Town Hall. So.
Gotcha. Interesting. And you mentioned the Farmington MPO, I think is
Yep.
what it was, right, that helped with this? And so that's kind of the lead planning group for a lot of things that do reach into the county?
Indeed. So the MPO is comprised of basically all local entities have a seat at the table, if you will, and we develop transportation planning documents through either the MTP, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or bike ped plans, bicycle and pedestrian plans.
Right.
And those documents then serve as your backup when you're chasing federal money.
You have to have that in place first, right?
You
Before
do.
you can even apply
That's
for this money. Is that true?
You don't necessarily have to, but it certainly helps your case when
I
you're
see.
applying for money. So as a reviewer looking at these grants, they say, okay, there's planning documents in place that this is a viable project. It's been voted on by all the local entities, because it is something that gets voted on. There is, within the MPO, there's a technical committee and a policy committee. The technical committee is comprised largely of staff of the City of Bloomfield, City of Aztec.
The
City of
planning
Farmington.
staff. So, yeah, right.
Well, it's actually largely engineering staff.
Okay, I see.
Or planning staff. I know Aztec has their city planner on the technical committee.
Right.
And the policy committee is actually elected officials. So they're the ones that actually make the final decision to adopt these documents. We, as a technical committee, I being a member, we present them the documents for their review and then ultimately their acceptance.
Gotcha. And from a county standpoint, and again, you represent the county, and so is there another area of the county that you're looking at places for trails? I know the Glade area we'll talk about in just a moment. That's
Sure.
probably the next one. But is there anything more kind of in some of these interface areas that go from county to municipality that are ripe for trail development?
Sure. So right now we don't have anything in the pipeline. This Kirtland path is, obviously it's looking to be a 3-phase project. So 3 phases over 2 years per phase. It's, a 6-year burn.
Right.
But we did just recently complete a project at the intersection of County Road 390 and 350. That was a safety project that we did add some pedestrian facilities to. For those folks who are familiar with our county road network, it is a rural road system. Typically doesn't have sidewalks like you have here in the city.
Right. And this is like Crouch Mesa area, if I'm not
It is.
mistaken, correct? Are you
What I
talking
just
about this
described
area?
is Crouch Mesa. So that's, step one. And again, planners, a good planner is always looking 30, 40 years in the future. So what may or may not make sense now, they're evaluating that for, population increases, decreases, where residential areas may be, where industrial areas may be. So it certainly is a process. It's actually, as me being an engineer, was not a process I was particularly familiar with prior to my public employment. I was a consulting engineer for 15 years. But yeah, it's been enlightening, and it's actually pretty engaging.
Interesting. And so let's talk about the Glade,
Sure.
because that is another area that the county's been really active in, I think, and working with partners, not just the county by itself, to improve and add and construct some trails and things in that area. This is, again, north part of Farmington, I guess.
It is. It's the BLM's operated Glade Run Rec area. They have what is known as a travel management plan. It's basically a trail.
All these plans.
Indeed.
Right.
Which actually it was of great help in applying for these grants. So there's another program. It's called the Rec Trails program. It's a federal program administered by New Mexico DOT that, in partnership with the BLM, the county applied for a grant for $700,000 for trail expansion and improvement in the Glade. We were lucky to receive that 2 years ago. That project's currently in design with construction hopefully happening this fall, weather permitting. And another round of funding came last year, and we received another $500,000. So between these two grants, it's $1.2 million in trail development in the Glade, which is obviously shows the county and the county commission's commitment to the outdoor recreation initiative. That's I'm sure you're familiar with.
Exactly, that's true, right?
And me as a mountain biker, I'm ecstatic to be working on this. I look forward to beating the drum with my mountain biking friends when we're riding new trails. And
but they're excited about these things, right?
Indeed, yeah.
And you kind of got into it a little bit about what this means for county residents, but we hear about it too a little bit more about the outdoor recreation and attracting visitors from other places,
Sure.
and also talking a little bit about maybe multimodal transportation networks and things like that. A lot of folks think about having a trail system that links the three cities and things along that line. Is that something that
so there is
we work towards?
Yeah, within that bike ped plan I'm mentioning, the old railroad line that runs between Farmington and or ran between Farmington and Durango, the county still owns the right-of-way for the portion between the city of Farmington and Aztec. Included in that bike ped plan is a development, I believe it's called the Anezi Trail. That would be a kind of rails to trails program that would connect Farmington to Aztec with an off-highway dedicated bike and pedestrian path.
Right, and I guess that's a good location since it's already somewhat graded and cleared and has the rights of way, obviously.
Well, indeed,
So
the right of way
sense.
is the biggest part of that.
Right.
When you accept federal funds, the right of way portion is the most cumbersome portion thereof. You obviously have to go through an appraisal process and then potentially condemnation or
purchase or something, right?
Exactly.
Outright purchase a slice of land.
Exactly.
somewhere.
So yeah, it is cumbersome. So having the right of way there is a huge asset, and it'll still be there. Like I said, it may be 20 years before that trail gets put in place, but it's still in those planning documents, and it's a very viable project.
Right.
So.
But it seems that there are these entities that want to help make these things happen and help fund them, and the county seems amenable to having that happen.
Indeed, it's those quality of life components when you're trying to attract. Outside investment, and folks considering moving to Farmington or Aztec or Bloomfield or in the unincorporated portion of the county, having those, like I said, quality of life amenities that allow you to recreate, and life's not all about work. So
That's very true. That's very true. And some of these areas, again, linking the Glade to Farmington Lake, that's been talked about as well.
And that's actually part of this current project. There will be the city. I know City of Farmington has a trail plan in place to link the lake to the Glade, and as a portion of the grant that we're currently administering, we do have a connection from their terminus into the Glade Run area. So.
Nice.
So yeah, you'll be able to camp at Farmington Lake, park your car, get on your ATV or your mountain bike, and you won't have to get on the road.
Right. You can go back and forth
Indeed.
on these new systems.
Yeah.
Other thing we want to talk about is road construction and paving and that, and this is that window of opportunity that we talked about at the beginning of the program, right? That it is road construction season.
Yes. So every year, the county receives, as well as the other local entities, from New Mexico DOT a funding stream called the Local Government Road Fund. We use those monies to purchase materials to resurface roads by way of chip sealing, using our own crews, which actually allows us to stretch that money quite far. Otherwise, hiring a contractor to do the work, you end up spending 60% of it on the contracting component. So yeah, this summer we have 25 miles of resurfacing planned. We've started. We're a little behind given the wet and long winter we had.
Right.
Normally we start with the crack seal process, which is where we fill cracks in the road with a rubberized crack seal material. In February, this year we didn't get to start till April, so we're playing a little bit of catch up. But yeah, as soon as we crack seal it, we put down an emulsion. It's an asphalt emulsion product. Apply a layer of chips. Half-inch rock is what it is. Mm-hmm. Roll it, sweep it, restripe, and generally we get about 7 years out of those resurfacing projects at a cost of about $40,000 a mile, where asphalt repaving would cost probably 5 times that. So.
Wow. And I know a lot of folks I don't think none of us understand maybe the costs involved, besides you, of resurfacing some of these roads. And so that is kind of the most cost-effective solution, that chip seal process?
It is. Like I said, we can do about 25 miles a summer using that process. And within our road system, we have about 220 miles of paved road. So trying to get it on that 7-year cycle, more rural roads that don't see as much traffic may be on a 10-year cycle, whereas more high-volume roads might be on a 5-year cycle. But yeah, it allows us to stretch our money as far as we can. Our finance department calls our road system an asset. I like to call it a liability because it is very expensive
to maintain.
Indeed.
I imagine. And so a shout out to Devanelia and yourself who sent me over some photos of the process that we're talking about. And would you mind taking us through a little bit of these as we show our viewers who are watching us today on our Facebook page and YouTube channel? I hope I put these in order and we don't go out of order here.
Well,
but
we can talk about this, and I think I'd sent you some of a crack seal process, but this is kind of the chip seal train, if you will.
Okay.
In the distance, you'll see an emulsion distributor. What that is, it's a tanker truck with a distributor bar on the back that spreads that emulsified asphalt product. The piece of yellow iron you see in the middle, that's the chip spreader. What that is it really kind of just lays this magic carpet of rock as it
those
goes
chips,
down
as you call them, right?
Yep, down the road. And then in the back, obviously, is a dump truck. That's what feeds the chip spreader through the process. So, like I said, it's a moving operation where there's not a whole lot of start and stop. It's the only constriction to the progress is, frankly, how quickly we can get dump trucks back up to that chip spreader.
Interesting.
It goes surprisingly fast. On any given day, we can do about 2 miles.
And so these things are moving. And so for folks who are watching, the tanker truck at the far end of the picture is going forward, and then the dump truck is in reverse?
In reverse. Yep,
Got
you
it.
got it.
Okay.
Actually, the dump truck is hooked onto the chip spreader. The dump truck's in neutral.
And
the
gets
chip spreader
towed.
It gets towed. Yep.
So it's feeding into the chips
Yep.
all the time until it runs out, and you replace it with another truck, I suppose,
and so,
right?
we'll typically have a chain of dump trucks behind that.
Right. And so this picture, we're looking
the
at
reverse angle.
different angle, right, of kind of what's going on and how it all happens, right?
So again, you see that distributor in the front. It's even operable right now. You can see the oil coming out of the back. And the chip spreader, that's kind of a cascading waterfall of rock that you see coming off of there. And then in the background, you see that roller, like I'd mentioned, in the far back, that's actually compacting those rocks into the emulsion to get that adhesion.
Right. And then, of course, is there another step that you have to come in and sweep up the loose rocks
We
after
do.
this?
Right? At the end, we'll typically do an initial sweep that day, then let traffic get on it for a couple weeks, and then we'll come back out and sweep again, and then we'll actually stripe the road.
And of course, I know everyone's worried about their windshields and things like that. That's always a concern. There's always signs up that warn you about the loose gravel and things like that, right?
We try to keep traffic to 25 miles an hour. Obviously, some people don't observe those signs. If there are complaints...
Those are the same ones sending their heavy trucks over your bridge, just probably.
So if there are windshield repairs, we do get calls on that. That goes to our risk management office. They evaluate the circumstance, whether it was our fault or potentially somebody else's.
Right.
And sometimes there are claims, sometimes not.
Understood. But if you got the signs up, I suppose that gives the county a bit of
It does.
the defense, for lack of a better term. And I know, is this a concern for motorcycle riders too when they get on pavement like this? I'm not a rider, so I can't speak.
I'm not a motorcycle rider either, Scott, but at the perhaps initially it might be a little bit more of a treacherous ride, but at the end of the day, it's essentially a paved road that's got a slightly more coarse surface.
Sure. Once everything's swept off, I completely agree with you.
Indeed.
But if there's loose gravel, I would assume if I'm on a two-wheeled motorcycle, it might be
observing those construction zone speed limits is advisable.
right. Another picture. This is again that
Oil distributor.
that oil distributor that's laying down that thick goo. I guess
It
Seems
is. It's a
to
thick
me.
goo, and that's the other
That's my technical term for it.
issue we have with folks not observing these construction sites is occasionally people will drive across that coming out of the driveway not realizing you're going to have a car covered in thick goo, like you said.
Right.
Should you not? So we do take care to monitor driveways and intersections when we're doing this. We try to keep that chip spreader and that distributor in pretty close contact, so
Right.
we don't have exposed oil for very long.
Well, as you mentioned, it's constantly moving, right? So
It is.
it wouldn't be exposed for hopefully that long.
No more than several
5 minutes or
yeah,
whatever,
exactly.
right,
Yeah.
is what we're talking about. So got it. Very interesting. And so this is happening in what roads in the county? Do you have
Sure,
a list of
I do. We have
who's
actually
getting attention?
a fairly robust list this
Right.
year. Again, any given year, we try to do 20, 25 miles, looking at its previous resurfacing and its current condition. Our staff goes out and does a visual inspection and identifies roads, and again, we look at our history. So this year, we're going to be chip sealing County Road 3900, which is out on Crutch Mesa.
Right.
I think it's Wildflower Parkway in Farmington extends to 3900. Or I'm sorry, that's 3950. We'll also be doing 3950 out in the Bloomfield neck of the woods, or Blanco neck of the woods, County Road 4599, which is on the west side of the San Juan River between Blanco and Navajo Dam.
Right.
That's actually a pretty sizable project. That's about 7.5 miles. A few other small roads in Blanco, 4775, 4785, 4899, out toward Kirtland, Fruitland, 6200 and 6299. Another sizable project in the Fruitland area is County Road 6700. That's 2.5 miles. Up at the state line off US 550 is 2105. We'll be resurfacing. That was actually the state highway at one point in time. The county took over that road when they rebuilt 550. And there's a neighborhood just south of Aztec where we'll be doing 3124, 3125, and 3128. County Road 3450, which is in Flora Vista, we'll be resurfacing that. Another road out in Bloomfield, neck of the woods, is 4800. That's 2.8 miles. So that's our list for the year. Again, it all totals about 25 miles. So it's a pretty robust program. We were fortunate this year that, as you may be aware, the southeast portion of New Mexico was generating a heck of a lot of tax
they
revenue
are.
from the
That's
oil
right.
field. So a lot of that went back to the DOT, and they spread it out to the local government. So yeah,
Nice.
typically we might receive $400,000 in LGRF funding. This past year we received almost $800,000. So it was a good year.
That certainly helps because I know the county budget is pretty lean and mean.
It is. I won't speak for the finance department, but I know our revenues are down about 11%.
Gotcha.
From gross receipts tax. So.
And when we say that and talk a little bit about that, when you hear that from the finance department, it is important to do projects like this, that maintenance, that regular maintenance on some of these roads, right? Because if you defer that,
Indeed.
it costs more in the long run, does
so
it not?
That's certainly a discussion we had when the county was facing a budget shortfall of about $3 million for next year, and obviously the Public Works Department, aside from the sheriff's office and the detention centers, we have the third largest budget in the county that's not associated with public safety. So, this is a big budget. Let's look for ways to cut it. But the finance department also does recognize the fact that we don't want to be deferring maintenance because what might cost us $1 a day might cost us $3 2 years from now. So,
Right.
we found a way to make it work. And like I said, we were fortunate that we received a sizable grant from from the state this year.
And I'm curious if your snowplow budget took a hit this winter with some of the storms
Sure.
that we had and things like that. I know it's going back a few months. And
so, yeah, that's our overtime budget is what that affects. Is,
I see.
They get called out in the middle of the night. We manage that as best we can. If, a crew gets called out to work nights, they may get sent home the next day, which is unfortunate for those folks that, get few overtime opportunities. But again, it's part of, keeping an eye on it. But yes, it was a busy snowplow year.
I would think so. And a shout out to your crews for getting out there at all hours, I suppose, when the storms hit.
It never seems to snow during the day here.
No, it doesn't.
So it's always in the middle of the night. And it's always at 5 o'clock when everybody's ready to go home. So they've worked a 10-hour day. And then they, face we work them in 5-hour shifts at nighttime. So,
right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And so we talked a little bit about the chip seal, and then the other thing you mentioned was the kind of the crack sealing and crack routing and things
Sure.
like that. I don't think I have any pictures of that. I don't know what I did with them, but
Okay.
I know you sent them to me. But
Sure.
they didn't make it to the show. But same type of thing. And how many roads are you working on?
That's we
That
crack seal
part of that list too?
same 25 miles. Yeah. So what we have are the county. This is a program that we started, frankly, just last year, and I'll take credit if it works, and
Okay.
I'll say it was somebody else if it doesn't.
It's Mike's fault.
But yeah, we made a sizable capital investment in a crack seal machine and routers, which essentially it looks like almost like a vacuum cleaner, if you will, like an industrial-sized vacuum cleaner that has a set of spinning blades that you kind of work along the cracks, which opens them up so you can actually get penetration of that rubberized crack seal product. So it'll actually go down through the asphalt as opposed to just sitting on top. And
So it won't get rubbed off maybe by traffic
exactly.
or whatever, I suppose.
So the idea there is without the chip seal, that should last 5 years. When we're putting the chip seal on top of it, we're getting about 7 years out of these resurfacing projects at a cost of about, like I said, $40,000 a mile, which is very reasonable.
Right. And by having this equipment on your own, by buying it outright, that saves money than having to rent it or lease it or something?
Certainly does. We do have a full-service maintenance shop as part of Public Works. We have 6 full-time mechanics, and indeed, so for a capital of investment of about $100,000 for those pieces of equipment that I just mentioned, we're able to use our own crews and, like you said, not have to rent. The rental of a crack seal machine is about $2,500 a week, so it pays for itself pretty quick.
I would think so. Yeah, it sounds like it does. But you have to maintain it. But
We
you have
do.
the crews to do that.
Indeed.
Is what you were telling me. And so for folks who are watching and listening to us this morning and maybe they live on a county road and they're concerned about its condition, what's the process, again, where you evaluate and decide when that road gets put on maybe the schedule for replacement
sure.
or upgrade or whatever?
So in this last year, I've been fortunate to be able to build a small engineering group at the county. As I mentioned, I'm an engineer. I hired another engineer and licensed surveyor, and we have an engineering technician. And we embarked on what is a pavement condition analysis throughout the county, where we drove every paved road. We actually did corings on an every mile basis, did an assessment of the cracks, and gave us really a baseline report for prioritization of road resurfacing. So
Let me stop you there for 1 minute. How many miles of roads do we have in San Juan County?
okay, so all told, it's about 740, of which 220 miles are paved. The remaining 500 and change are
Not
road-based gravel roads. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you were working on the paved ones, obviously,
Strictly the paved
for
ones.
this report. So you've done all that. You've got your baseline.
Exactly. So yeah, we looked to that. We looked to obviously our history, which, as I said, I've been with the county for about 2.5 years. The chip seal history that I have goes back about a decade, so it's gone through that 7-year cycle. So we have good data on where we've been and where we need to be. Again, that pavement condition analysis is pretty critical when prioritizing what needs to be done. So yeah, it was a very viable effort by our engineering staff, and it's a document that when it comes time to write the grant every year, that's what we go to.
So if I live on one of those roads, though, and I want you to take another look at it, can you just refer to that document and say, well, we checked it, and it's not due for anything until 2021 or what have you?
We can. So obviously a big part of what I do is talking with citizens, and roads are important to people, obviously, for good reason. So it's having we're not going to do it for 5 years, well, why? And having that why to back it up via that document is very helpful to me. So.
Would there be any reason to go back out and maybe re-look at it in case
absolutely.
of
Yeah, absolutely.
more wear and tear, if we had some runoff or something that maybe ate away at part of it.
Sure.
Who knows,
So,
right?
I mean, our staff, we have, a maintenance and construction staff. They're always driving around. It's shocking the amount of miles these guys put on their pickup
might
trucks
imagine.
because
Right.
they're out looking at issues, responding to citizen concerns and complaints and input. So yeah, indeed, we don't just pick up the phone and say, yeah, we've got this document, sorry.
We're sticking to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, no, we're nimble if
Gotcha.
need be. So.
Okay. And the other question I have would be, if I live on one of the gravel roads, it's dirt roads, it's not paved, what would be, is there any kind of threshold that it needs to meet before it would be considered to be paved? Because that's a major upgrade.
It's a major expense, and it's honestly something that we don't actively pursue without. Again, it would have to be a circumstance where this was a low volume road and a developer came in and put 200 house lots on the end. It might be something we would look for the developer to foot the bill on.
Sure.
Initially, and then we would adopt it into our system. But we do get calls, hey, can you pave my road? And the challenge is tactfully saying, probably not.
Can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just, too expensive.
So what we do on gravel roads, particularly in residential areas, is we do an annual application of magnesium chloride, which is a stabilizer and dust deterrent. Actually, this is the season we're doing that now. So if folks are seeing, it's a distributor the same as was shown in the chip seal photographs.
I see. Right.
But it's a different product. It's a magnesium chloride, which is obviously salt water, for lack of a better way of describing it, and it has a blend of a product called lignin, which is a tree sap derivative. So that gives it some additional stickiness, and that's what makes it black. People say, hey, you're putting asphalt down on the road. It's on my car. Well, it's maple syrup, for lack of a better way of describing it.
Should rinse off.
Yeah, exactly.
Too, is
And it does.
part of that, right? But that's really interesting. And again, it just makes sense that you have to have certain thresholds and certain criteria for these roads and neighborhoods to meet before the county can step in to do anything with it.
For sure.
And I know there's still some folks who maybe think that they live on a county road and are surprised to find out that maybe it's a private road.
Or private or non-county maintained.
Right. Yeah.
So, absolutely, and that's a major cause of confusion and frankly consternation. We do have three classifications of roads within the county. One is full county maintenance, or CM for county maintained. On those roads, we perform routine maintenance. We maintain the drainage systems, culvert replacements, so on and so forth. If it's paved, maintain the asphalt. If it's lesser county maintained, that's a designation. I'm not entirely sure how it came to be, but I think it was potentially at a time where the county was flush with cash and we were looking to do the best for our citizens. So for the lesser county maintained roads, we do blade those roads or use a motor grader on them twice annually, a minimum of twice annually, oftentimes more than that. But yes, there are roads classified as NCM. Those are those signs that are red and white. Those are roads that were never accepted by the county for maintenance. Some of them came to be via summary subdivision, if you will, just a gradual subdividing of land where to be in compliance with E911 standards, we have to be able to identify where you live so we can get an ambulance or a fire truck to your house.
Sure. Need to label that as some kind of
So that's
road.
how it got that road number. So there is some confusion. People see that county shield, be it red and white, they don't necessarily understand the difference. So that is an important thing to note, Scott, that if you live on a road with a red and white sign, it's not under the maintenance responsibilities of the county to take care of that road.
And that falls to the property owners on that road, or an HOA,
It does.
or whatever
An
they've
HOA,
got going.
if there is one, or the property owners to maintain it themselves, whatever it may be.
Right. Interesting. And the other one that's kind of in the middle is just out of the county's generosity, I guess, to help out.
That's my speculation. I can't say for sure, but yeah, it was. There's again, it was probably a function of the number of people living on the road. It wasn't being maintained. Let's absorb it.
Well, we know we have a lot of miles of roads in this county, as you mentioned, over 700, I think, right?
740
is the amount. So there's a lot to keep you busy. Plus all the other things we've talked about this morning, the trails and the paving and everything else. So we are out of time.
Okay.
Nick Porell, is there anything else to add to our conversation?
No, I appreciate you having me, Scott.
All right. If folks have a question, can they give your department
Sure,
a call?
they can call our office. Our office number is 505-334-4520. You can ask for me. It'll either be Carl or Ashley that'll answer the phone, and they will direct you to where you need to go.
All right. Very good. Thanks for coming in this
Great.
morning.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it very much. That's Nick Porell, my guest. He's the Public Works Director of San Juan County, my guest here on KSJE. Back with more in just a moment, everybody. KSJE is supported by Sandstone Productions Outdoor Summer Theater, featuring the music of Elvis this summer. The Broadway musical All Shook Up will have you putting on your blue suede shoes and shaking your hips like it's now or never. The show performs every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday through July 27th. Enjoy an evening under the beautiful New Mexico stars. Concessions are available on site. Beer and wine from Wines of the San Juan available Fridays and Saturdays. Find out more about this jolt-worthy event at farmingtonnm.org/OST. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly, and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com.